Hello, everyone. Steve Westman. Welcome to the live Audiophile Roundtable. This is a special edition, movie soundtracks that shaped our lives and the week that was. Let's bring in my esteemed guests today. David from Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. It's been a while. It's been a few minutes. Welcome, David. Hi.
Thank you, Steve.
Nice to see you.
Good to be back.
George Borden, how are you?
I'm doing great.
And the one and only Norman Maslov, how are you? All we need is Maslov.
Yes,
so
love.
The week that was, I had that as part of our title today, the week that was, because it was sort of a really fun week last week, right? I think. I thought it was.
Why was this? Why was it?
Well, behind me, you see that Sabbath record,
Oh,
something
the
to do
Rhino.
with Rhino stuff.
Right.
It was a fun week. A lot of fun.
And was VMP news last week, or was that the week before? That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was at the
That
show.
was the week before.
Austin.
That's the 3 executives got canned for misappropriation of funds or something. So we're just every week there's fun. I mean, I think this happened.
And you saw that MoFi released some more of their. They found more copies in a sock drawer or something of American Beauty. I ordered one actually because I keep hearing how good it is.
It's a good record. I have 45.
I'm not usually a double 45 guy, but
they had an open house at their pressing plant on Friday.
I saw the pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where is that? Where is it?
Oxnard.
Oxnard, yeah, Southern California. Okay.
So how far is, like, for a Canadian? How far is that from LA? So I have an idea.
It's within an hour.
About an hour away.
Yeah.
It's within an hour. During rush hour, it's 18 hours.
It's about 20 minutes from RTI.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
It is.
Well, it looked like a good showing. I saw some of the pictures and some of the social media posts that I follow. So it looked
was the main guy there, the music direct main guy? What's his name?
Jim Davis.
Yeah.
Was he there?
Sure.
I didn't notice.
Sure.
I didn't look at the names of I just saw people sort of standing, getting their picture taken. I have no idea who's who. So I'm sure. But they already pressed. It's called the Fidelity. And David, it's called the Fidelity Pressing Plant, correct?
Right. Fidelity.
And I think they've
Fidelity
already
record pressings.
And they've already done the 3 Miles Davis pressings. Is it Bitches Brew? Is it My Funny Valentine? And help me out with the last one. I think there's been 3 Davis pressings. So
yeah.
I think I had it up at one of the last shows.
Steps something. What's the one? What the type? Something steps, 5 steps, 5-step program.
12-step program.
Watching this show, you're going to need a 10-step.
Someone in the audience can tell me what's some of that not giant steps, 5 steps, step way to heaven. I don't know, one of those.
One step.
One step. What's a one
Baby
step?
steps.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Hey Siri, Miles Davis step album.
Speaking of returning records, no.
Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, is it 7 Steps to Heaven or something like that?
Yes, 7. Yeah, 7. There we go. Thank you. I think that's the one.
So, anyways, I guess you guys ordered the Black Sabbath. Hopefully, it comes for everyone the next week or so. And I know the mailers are a lot better than the previous few issues. So we should be in a good spot. And I'm excited.
Did you order Devo too? Any of you?
I did not.
No.
And I can say
I decided not to whip it.
They're really excited about the Rhino about how it's selling. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't get that. I'm not privy to that, but I can tell you they're really happy with how it's going so far.
Well, then they're going to probably want to do a progression if they can do it with the other.
Well, I think that's the thing. If they get this much success off the self-titled Black Sabbath, why not go through the whole catalog at some point? I think that would be smart, wouldn't it? I would.
Sure beats the picture disc box.
Well, yeah, I don't think many. Yeah, I'm not.
Didn't they do one a picture disc box?
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
I think it's a great choice, and I'm not a huge fan, but I like that kind of psychedelic-y, heavy that period a lot. So,
well, I like that they give the fans what they wanted, and I know Steve, you were instrumental in that.
And Steve has his name on it.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, and honestly, I did not know that was going to happen. I pretty much got the records. I opened it up. I'm reading. I'm like, oh my God, they put my name in it. So I contacted Patrick right away. So you actually did this? I'm like, said, well, yeah, you're the one that pushed it. We listened to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so nice.
Well, next time you see Ozzy, say, Ozzy, hey, it's Steve Westman.
I'm very humbled by it. I was really surprised. I showed my wife. I'm like, oh my god! It felt like you're winning the lottery. It's like, oh my, it's such a cool thing to have happen. I had no idea that was going to happen. So again, very grateful to Rhino for doing that. It's kind of cool. So thank you. So let's talk. I know our whole thing today was soundtracks. I know we haven't on this show. We never really talked soundtracks. And I was looking through, and I mean, I pulled a few. I've got lots more. There's a lot of good soundtracks that have shaped our lives and have been in our head our whole lives as well, right? And I mean, I want to talk about that today. I'm excited to see what everyone brought. I do want to start with George and see what I know. See, you always want to make sure all the kids do their homework. So I want to start with the one that I'm most worried about.
Am I supposed to go? Are we doing one at a time and going around that way?
Yeah, I'll just do that for now. For sure.
Okay. The first one that I have sitting here is Goldfinger. That's Shirley Bassey joint right there, right? Everybody knows this one. This was a popular soundtrack. It's been around. I saw it in so many when I was a little kid. For some reason, out of all the James Bond ones, the only one I knew when I was a kid was, Live and Let Die, because I was a Paul McCartney fan and a Beatle fan. But then for some reason, everybody always seemed to have this one too. And it's I think because of that song right there and this singer. And this is a good old school UA high fidelity stereo original artist.
Yep.
George Martin produced that by chance? Did he?
He produced the song.
Yeah, I think that you can actually see footage, right, of her singing this in that Mary McCartney doc in Abbey Road. Isn't that what this is? Does she sing this?
She couldn't get it, and George Martin took her aside. Then she decided to take her bra off, which sounds weird to say here, and she belted it out, and they got it in that final take. She wasn't.
Well, I can imagine that would keep you from pulling air and expanding your torso. So,
but John Barry's British scores are amazing.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so that's my first one that I pulled up.
Good pick.
That's amazing. Okay, David. Go for it.
I have a tie-in to that one, the Goldfinger, and that is that in '68, I saw the car from that movie in a Sears Roebuck parking lot in Gary, Indiana. And guess who was playing in that parking lot on a stage?
In '68?
Not the Guess Who?
The Jackson 5.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, they had that car there.
Were they touring the car around, showing it off to people, like that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost pulled that out.
Yeah.
It's do. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Harold Faltermeyer. Yeah. So this, to me, a soundtrack is, reminds me of a movie, or it helps me get into a movie. And to me, the music was very integral to this, like Eddie Murphy hanging on the back of that cigarette truck by the chains, and they're playing Neutron Dance. It's just, crazy. But this is a great soundtrack. Beverly Hills Cop, the first one.
During that MTV generation where it started everything was almost a video, everything
absolutely
was almost a music video.
Absolutely.
Every time I hear that music from that sound, it reminds me that you got a banana in your tailpipe. Remember that scene?
Yeah, exactly.
That was
got a belt that man a banana in the tailpipe.
I love that scene. Okay, Norman.
Well, I have two here just because they're related, but I want to stress the thing. There's two different things with soundtracks. There's scores and there's songs, like albums that became big, these albums that were like comps of great songs and music in movies like American Graffiti and so. But I want to start out from one director. The thing that influenced me the most as a score, I guess, was 1968's 2001, A Space Odyssey. And literally as a 14-year-old, I went with my dad to see it. It got me into classical music, and some weird classical music as that is. And the great story, or the tragic story, a guy named Alex North was hired by Kubrick to compose the score for the movie. And Kubrick used all this classical music by Richard Strauss and the Blue Danube, and also Zarathustra, as he was cutting the film. And that was how he, saw it as placeholders. Alex North, the composer, did a whole score for the film, shows up with his wife at the premiere, and his music's not in the movie. It's all the stuff that Kubrick used as he was editing. And of course, that's, you can't think about it without thinking about hearing that music now. Years later on the CD era, I think that Alex North score came out. But this, just because Kubrick, to me, great scores in movies. Now, this was a combination of actual music and then Wendy, whatever. Well, Walter at the time, now Wendy Carlos, after her switched on Bach, did all the electronic score with Beethoven stuff, William Tell Overture. These are huge as a young man for me for classical music, and just very listenable records. Love these two.
Very nice.
Very good.
So for me, and this was also this is the one I have here. Oh, look at this, George.
We knew that.
I'm just making sure that that when I run out, it's because Mazzy stole one of mine.
And he did too, no less.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go deeper on the next one now.
We just discuss it later. We could discuss it too more.
So for me, this is a record that I purchased when I was 13 years old after watching the movie. This is a John Hughes classic, and to me, this is it just brings back the memories of the mid '80s. This was in 1986. This is Pretty in Pink. This is my original Canadian copy. And I mean, let me just I can see it here, but I mean the songs. If You Leave by OMD, Left of Center, Susan Vega, Jesse Johnson's in it. In Excess, Do What You Do, Pretty in Pink by the Psychedelic Furs, Shell Shock, New Order, Round and Round, and it would Bring on the Dancing Horses, Echo and the Bunnymen, and Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What You Want by the Smiths. This sort of captures the mid '80s as to what the sound was at the time and what was going on in the movies. And to this day, this is my all-time favorite soundtrack, mastered by Bernie Grundman from the analog tapes. I confirmed with Bernie because I talked to Bernie on my show a couple years ago, and I asked him specifically about this record, and he said, "Yeah, absolutely, cut from the analog tapes." So it sounds amazing. It sounds the way I remember it as a kid, and I mean. I still play this to this day. I have the CD. I've got. I think there's a pink vinyl version as well. I didn't pull that one, but I think the label's pink on one of the sides too, as you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I adore
John
this.
Hughes was so great about. Apparently, he would write scenes and think about the music while he was writing scenes for the movie, and all his soundtracks. He kind of introduced the Smiths to a lot of the American audience.
And I was about to say that. I mean, think about it. In Excess. I probably, a lot of people didn't know In Excess in 1986. I mean, before this album came out.
And the title track is literally was a Psychedelic Furs song before the movie.
Yeah, so to me, this has a lot of meaning and a lot of memory, a lot of sentimental memory. And like I said, I bought the CD. I've got 2 or 3 different copies of this, and this is this is the 1980s. This is the mid 80s. This is the sound of the mid 80s. If you're listening to the radio or watching movies,
Sure.
Pretty in Pink. And fun fact here, this is Andrew McCarthy. He played the love interest of Molly Ringwald. At the very end of the movie, you got to look at the scene because his hair, he's wearing a wig, and his hair looks completely different than what's on the record. Because John Hughes went and actually had to redo the very ending because he had Ducky and Molly Ringwald getting together at the grad. Not him, and I think it's Blaine is the name of the character.
Ducky.
So Ducky loses out to Molly. Blaine wins, so he went and reshot it, and you'll see Blaine or Andrew McCarthy wearing a wig. It's so funny. It just looks ridiculous. But anyways, Pretty in Pink, 1986, capturing what it was like mid 80s. Great songs. Every song there is incredible. Pick it up. I mean, CD bins. If you want it for CD, they're $1 in the CD bins I've seen. These are probably $5 records anywhere, and again cut from the analog tapes from Bernie Grundman. Incredible. There you go.
Good stuff.
I'm emotional now, bringing back so many memories.
I got a twofer.
Oh, geez.
He's
He's done after this. We're gonna have to let him go. He's done. He's blown his
wad.
I was about to say that. Anyways, there we go.
From one of the biggest selling years in record history. Grease soundtrack, Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Both movies star John Travolta. Both of these records were massive. Obviously, this one, and both of them have title tracks written by Barry Gibb, amongst other, songs, but this obviously was going to be the Bee Gees' next album. And Robert Stigwood came to Barry Gibb and said, I kind of need something for this film that I'm working on. As a matter of fact, we need a song right now that we can use to film the opening sequence, which is Travolta walking. Right. So Barry Gibb kind of on the spot came up with Staying Alive. And so that he could actually listen to that while he was walking down the street. Became a huge hit, became the opening track on one of the biggest soundtracks ever made. How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, and then some kind of redos. There's the More Than a Woman done by Tavares, but also the version done by the Bee Gees on here. Plus, I think You Should Be Dancing, which had already been released by the Bee Gees before. So bringing some other songs in, plus Disco Inferno. That's another big disco hit. Disco Duck, Boogie Shoes by
Yvonne Elliman.
Yvonne Elliman, If I Can't Have You, and side one.
Yeah, love that.
This on the other side, this is a rarefied taste. It's maybe difficult to listen to, but the title track, Grease Against Barry Gibb, sung by Frankie Valli, right? And you got Stockard Channing singing on this, and Olivia Newton-John had a big hit, Hopelessly Devoted to You's on here, You're the One That I Want, the big hits, singles, and Sha Na Na makes an appearance on here, does a medley of songs. So anyways, two RSO records from 1 year.
Saturday Night Fever was such a big cultural change in music.
Oh yeah.
I mean, literally. I mean, whether people loved or hated disco, you couldn't get away from it. It was massive
everywhere.
And you had big rock acts coming to the party, like that. They had to dip their toes into it. The Stones, Kiss, McCartney got into it. Rod Stewart, big hit for Rod Stewart. One of the big hits of that year. Do You Think I'm Sexy? That was a huge hit. Great time.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going back to what I think are, I could be wrong, but two of the very first, we're talking about, you've been showing comps, records, collections of songs that made a movie, and two of these were really important. And I'd say the later one, which I used to think was the first, was Easy Rider in 1969. This was like, I remember these two in Revolution. This was a documentary, but this had cuts. What was great about this, I was all in on these San Francisco groups like Mother Earth, Steve Miller, Quicksilver. These were songs that were not on their albums. And so to get Codine, the Buffy St. Marie song by Quicksilver, and Steve Miller doing Your Old Lady, and Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Quicksilver, you couldn't get those. So these were in the dollar bins for years, this soundtrack. But this one was massive, obviously. It pushed Steppenwolf already had hits, but it pushed The Pusher over, Born to Be Wild over, Jimi Hendrix, If 6 Was 9, Roger McGuinn doing the Ballad of Easy Rider. Peter Fonda wanted Dylan to write it. He said, talk to McGuinn, and McGuinn wrote that great song and then covers another song in there. The weird thing about the soundtrack, and I never got an answer, it was a licensing deal. In the movie, they used The Weight by the band, but on the soundtrack, it's a group called Smith does that. But this is just a fantastic, and of course, Don't Bogart That Joint by Fraternity of Man this is a great soundtrack. And I bought my first copy at Tower, went to my friend's house. We left the house. I was fumbling for my keys I put the bag on the roof of the car, drive off. I looked at the rearview mirror. My bag falls off the back and a car runs it over. So I had to buy another copy, but that's a memory of Easy Rider.
I like that. I mean, that's a great soundtrack. The Pusher is one of my favorite Steppenwolf songs. Hoyt Axton, good old Hoyt, the cowboy, wrote that song. I love that. And of course, Steppenwolf. Is it Born to Be Wild, Mazzy, comes after that one?
Born to Be Wild, yeah. The Pusher, Born to Be Wild. Then The Weight by Smith, Wasn't Born to Follow, the Byrds. I mean, Holy Molded Rounders out of New York, If You Want to Be a Bird. So it's such a great.
Well, and the weight is fellow Canadian Robbie Robertson wrote that, if not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, but this unfortunately is a band called Smith. I don't know if Capitol or whoever wouldn't allow it, which is really dumb. That's one of those dumb shit moves, like when bands they wouldn't put them on the Woodstock soundtrack. All those bands the first time on Woodstock, what a stupid move.
And which Jimi Hendrix song is on there?
If
6 Was 9.
Okay. Yeah, that's an incredible soundtrack. David.
Okay. All right. So I've got a left fielder here. Good Morning Vietnam. Being a former
You
disc
gotta
jockey.
say it. You gotta say it like you mean it, like Robin Williams. There you
Good
go.
Morning Vietnam.
That's just a classic movie. Every time I just see that, I'm like, Robin Williams at his peak best. I mean, he was absolutely amazing in that movie.
The great thing about it is it's got a lot of, Martha Reeves and the Vandella. It's got Liar Liar, but his outtakes from the tracks in the movie where he's doing actually the DJ is on the record between these tracks. So it's almost like you get a snippet of the movie while you're listening to it, which is a great, and I think the Bernie did this one on A&M as well. So this is a great sounding one, and it's got a couple of stereo versions on ones that are hard to find, like 5 O'Clock World by the Vogues. So it's a great one.
All right.
Rocking from the Delta to the DMZ.
I love it. So I'm still going mid-'80s, so I'm really bringing back my teenage years and trying to relive it today. That's why I put the show together.
Go.
Now, love them or hate them, love the movie or hate the movie. I actually happen to really like this movie, and I like the actor. Again, love him to hate him. But here it is.
Oh.
1988, Tom Cruise in Cocktail. But hey, Mazzy, Ry Cooder has a good song in this. If you recall or remember, it's All Shook Up, which I think is one of the best sung All Shook Up songs out there. Elvis Presley.
I think a lot of people broke bottles when they were trying to do that, throwing the bottle thing up after that movie.
That was right. So All Shook Up, Wild Again by Starship, powerful stuff. The Fabulous Thunderbirds, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Remember that song? That was off this sound.
Bobby McFerrin.
Hippie Hippie, Shake, Georgia Satellites. We had the Beach Boys. I mean, Kokomo made this song. I mean, that, Kokomo.
Mazzy's favorite.
And then John Cougar Mellencamp, Rave On. Love it. And again, I mentioned All Shook Up. And then the last song by Little Richard, Tutti Frutti. There it is. That was Cocktail 1988. Look at that.
You got to give Tom Cruise his credit, but that was a period of time when they'd come up with an idea, a concept, like a packaging. We don't have a script, we don't have anything, but we got to do a thing called Cocktail with Tom Cruise and write something about it. Make a movie, make a comeback. And it was huge.
It was a movie. It was filmed in Jamaica and filmed in Toronto, actually.
What's the Australian guy in it?
Brian something. Brian.
Yeah. Who's met?
Brian. He was in the movie FX 1 and 2.
Both FX movies. Brian. Yeah.
Brian Brown.
Yeah, I agree with Brown. Justin in the audience here. Can we get Kokomo banned for life?
And remember, Elizabeth Shue was in this movie as well.
Oh yeah.
I think it's an entertaining movie. It's a fun movie.
You know what? And I saw it in the theaters, and I mean, I was a teenager, and I thought, hey, I mean,
did it get you started to drink?
Who didn't think Tom Cruise was cool when you're a teenager? I mean, you Top Gun and Cocktail and all this stuff. It was a cool time, right? And Brian Dennehy. There you go.
Risky Business is a great soundtrack.
Great movie, 1983. And remember the guy from Revenge of the Nerds was in that.
Booger?
His name was Booger in Revenge of the Nerds. He was Tom Cruise's
buddy. He was also Moonlighting. I forgot his name. Yeah.
Who's next?
Me.
George.
All right, so I'm going to go one step above Ice Castles. And considering how all these people rallied around your cocktail choice and started to have words of support, I almost am guaranteed.
I haven't read. Hang on, Hold on, I haven't read the comments. They supported my cocktail. Hang on.
I was talking about the people on the screen giving you some.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see any comments saying they liked it, so I thought I'd get booed off my own show.
Hot off the trails of Grease and the success of Grease, everybody was wondering what Olivia Newton-John's next big thing was going to be. Oh, and unfortunately, it was Xanadu.
I almost picked that. I love that soundtrack.
Great music.
There's a hit song called Magic by Olivia Newton-John on here, and then Xanadu, and then ELO's got some. The Tubes are on here. Don't forget, the Tubes appeared in the movie, and the Tubes are in this soundtrack. Besides that, there's not a lot of redeeming qualities that I can think of. I have listened to this maybe twice in the last 15 years. And when I do, it makes me feel strange when I listen to it. The production's weird. It doesn't, back to the Grease and the Saturday Night Fever, the production on those records was of a certain standard. This got a little too kind of glossy and clean, and it just lacked, I don't know, too clean for me. And just the style of the time. Xanadu, it's worth a listen, especially if you like ELO, if you like Olivia Newton-John. The Tube song on here is not that great, but here you go, Xanadu. Thanks.
So one of the Traveling Wilburys, right? Jeff Lynne produced that record, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, Jeff Lynne was just the singer and songwriter and producer for ELO. Up at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think he produced it. I think he was just. What did he do?
I think he produced all of it. I think
he did.
I don't believe he produced the Olivia Newton-John song Magic.
I thought John Farrar did that.
John Farrar did the Olivia stuff. So this is before he became the massive producer that he was, which would happen in about 5 or 6 years.
So what year is that Xanadu? Is it early 80s, 1980 or 1979, 1980?
I think it's 19. Yeah, I think it's 1980, 1970. Yeah. It's 1980. Yeah, okay. 1980. So. This is, and you can see on the back, you got Olivia holding up the ELO logo.
Let me see that. Hold on, I want to see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is cool.
You can see produced by Jeff Lynne on one side, produced by John Farrar on the other side.
There you go.
The Jeff Lynne definitely was the mastermind of ELO, no doubt about it. But at that point, it was kind of just ELO at that point.
I mean, going back to Jeff Lynne with the Traveling Wilburys, but also too, I mean, one of the greatest records of all time, Tom Petty's "Full Moon Fever," was a Jeff Lynne production.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, that was only 8 years later he does "Full Moon Fever," which today I think that's going to stand up one of the best sounding records ever. I mean, that
did Mystery Girl, the Roy Orbison record, and he also did Cloud 9. George Harrison, he was in a, and he even. Did the Heartbreakers after that. He did Into the Great Wide Open, another big hit for the Heartbreakers.
And Mystery Girl by Roy Orbison being his last record that he that he recorded and released after his death is absolutely phenomenal. It's got the Heartbreakers on it, Tom Petty on it, of course, Jeff Lynne, all the guys. Pick that record up. That's another one. Sounds great. I think it was a Doug Sax mastered record, and you can get them for $5, $10, $15. Yep. Amazing. Pick it up, Roy Orbison, Mystery Girl. It's under in terms of quality and overall production and quality of that record. It's amazing.
He's right.
And let's not, the ELO stuff leading up to Xanadu, that late 70s ELO stuff was off the charts good too in terms of pop music. You know, if in case everybody doesn't know, that the idea was supposed to be sort of take like I Am the Walrus era Beatles and then move off of that, right? Go forward from there. So it was a lot of that sort of really rich pop music, but with really intense production, strings and whatnot. So really good records, fun to listen to.
Yep.
And just getting back, Mystery Girl, She's a Mystery to Me was the Bono song that was written for Roy Orbison, and Bono plays guitar on that song.
Bono wrote that?
Yeah, it's track one side. It's track one on the second side. And that's how they got Mystery Girl, was from that song, She's a Mystery to Me. And the song in the video, Bono's wife is the mystery girl in that video, apparently. I've never seen the video, but that's the Steve Westman fun fact for the day, But another one too. Just I
got a twofer again. Again, I'm going with directors. Michelangelo Antonioni did a great movie, one of my all-time favorite movies called Blow Up in 1966, about a photographer loosely based on the great pop photographer David Bailey. What's great about this, the soundtrack is Herbie Hancock, and it's a great friggin' soundtrack. But there's also the Yardbirds are in the film, so you see Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck with the Yardbirds performing on stage. And that track is on here, which is a fantastic soundtrack. So you got one track of the Yardbirds, and the rest is Herbie Hancock. It's a cool. There's Verushka, the model Verushka. Vanessa Redgrave is in it. David Hemmings plays the main photographer. It's kind of a surreal film. If you ever saw Blow Out, the Travolta film, It's kind of loosely based on Blow Up, but it's with audio instead of photography, blowing up the picture. But the other one, which was a terrible movie, surreal movie by Antonioni, is Zabriskie Point from, I think, 1970. But 10 years ago, they released the Record Store Day Expanded Edition. It was originally a CD about 20 years ago. This is amazing because all the music was written, most of it, for the film. So you got Pink Floyd doing a lot of like spacey stuff. Remember, they just did Obscured by Clouds, which is a soundtrack for a movie called La Vallée. I think it's one of the great Pink Floyd albums. But on here, the Grateful Dead do an excerpt of Dark Star, which was but Jerry Garcia does all these on one whole side guitar improvisations that are heard throughout the film. So you got a lot of Pink Floyd stuff written specifically for Zabriskie Point. You got songs or pieces of music by John Fahey, Kaleidoscope, the Youngbloods, Patti Page, and this is a really great psychedelic album. And find the expanded, whether it's CD or the Record Store Day issue 10 years ago or 2013. It's a great soundtrack. It really has a great psychedelic thing. Wonderful.
Okay. 1984, Electric Dreams. Giorgio Moroder and Jeff Lynne.
Oh, God.
To speak. P.P. Arnold, Helen Terry, and Heaven 17.
Wow.
Yeah, very electronic soundtrack, of course.
Now, David, did you pay $8.98 for it back then?
Actually, I did.
There you go.
Wow, I remember that.
Original Shrink. Yeah, it's a great electronic kind of record.
So I got. Thank you. I got one here, Mazzy. So the Thomas Crown Affair, Steve McQueen version, 1968. Okay. Now, do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Pretty big movie in its day, right? So
Winfield Left Your Mind.
Yeah. So the song, well, the Winfields of Your Mind was not by George Harrison, but the other Harrison. I forget his first name, but won the Academy Award.
Noel Harrison.
I think that's
no.
What was his name now?
Not Rex Harrison's son, right? No.
But he won the Academy Award for that. But here's the interesting thing. So that song was played, if you recall the movie, during when McQueen was doing his gliding. He was gliding his plane around. That song was being played during that time. So Norman Jewison, who is the director of that movie, when he actually filmed that movie and he was putting all the edits together, he had in his mind it was going to be Strawberry Fields Forever. There it is.
Noel Harrison. That's Rex Harrison.
It wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be Strawberry Fields Forever was supposed to be the song. So when they were editing that movie, that was a song that was being played during that time when he was gliding the plane. For some reason, Jewison decided to put in the Windmill song, which went on to win an Academy Award. And then Sting also sung that song for the Thomas Crown Affair sequel in the 90s with Pierce Bronson. It was at the very end credits. There you go.
I didn't know that about Strawberry Fields. See,
is that one of those things? Does that count as things that make you go, I just need to make sure. If that is, I have to put it up. Would you say so, David? George?
Yeah. Yes,
is that one of these?
Yes.
I wonder if they just couldn't get the rights to the song.
Where is Arsenio Hall when you need him?
There you go. Okay, so it's me. I'm surprised. I'm actually really surprised, Mazzy. I thought for sure you'd pull some Beatles soundtracks right now. So, but another one I grew up with as well.
That would be too obvious.
Yeah,
I'm really keeping to the mid '80s. This is really close to my heart. This is 1986. So I started with Pretty in Pink '86. I went to Cocktail '88. I'm back to '86 with Stand By Me.
That's a good one.
Classic movie. I remember seeing this theater again. Every Day, Buddy Holly, Let the Good Times Roll, Shirley and Lee, Come Go With Me, the Del Vikings, Whispering Bells, Del Vikings, Lollipop, Yakety Yak, and Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lewis, and of course the final, the track on side 2, Stand By Me, Benny King. I mean, this is a classic record. Again, one of those ones. This is an original. This is my Canadian original. I don't know. To me, it sounds great. Whatever. I mean, this is. Again, if you're looking for a little, going in a record store, not sure, and you see this one for $5, this is, why not buy it? Stand By Me, written by Stephen King. Actually, this movie or this screenplay or this short was written by Stephen King and turned into a movie. Another fun fact, Mazzy. Keep going, huh? Keep rolling with us. You're
Yeah.
learning something new every day, Mazzy, when you're on the Audiophile Roundtable. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stephen King's always has rock and roll references in his books. He's a big music fan, a rock and roll
Well,
fan.
then I'll throw this in, George. AC/DC. This
Yep.
is
Almost got that out. Who made who?
and this is basically Who Made Who, but it's also the Maximum Overdrive
That's
track,
correct.
which Amelia Estevez in 1986-87. Maximum Overdrive is about all these semi trucks that were possessed by demons driving themselves like Teslas. Kind of cool. They sort of predated the Tesla, and they tried to kill people, and that was Who Made Who. AC/DC, great.
Yeah.
And this is my Chris Bellman cut from the analog, remastered from the original master tapes. Oh, sorry, by George Marino. Sorry, not George. This
Yeah.
is the George
It's a
Marino from the
comp.
original. Yeah,
It's a comp that has a lot of old AC/DC on it that they wanted to use in the movie, and Stephen King had him write a song for the movie. Right. They wrote Who Made Who, and apparently Stephen King hated it. He hated the song, but it became a huge hit and became, Who
big
Made Who. It
song.
kind of brought AC/DC back into the,
well, and then
look
at the second track, You Shook Me All Night Long, another huge hit. I mean, then you got Hell's Bells on side 2. This is a big record back in, is this 86? I think I even said 86.
Yeah,
I'm really bringing back my mid-80s stuff, guys. I'm really living my, yeah.
There's a couple of new songs too. There's the Who Made Who is a new song, and there's another, couple of instrumentals and stuff like that. So
yeah, but this again, if you're not an AC/DC fan and you want to watch Maximum Overdrive, cut by George Marino from the analog tapes, this is a solid. I want to call it a banger. Someone asked me what a banger meant, Mazzy. Do you know the actual definition of a banger?
It's basically a breakfast hot dog. They serve sausage.
Well, no, it's a song with a loud, energetic beat that's good for dancing. Or again, in today's social media and whatever, it's a banger means it sounds bloody good.
You're not thinking like Bangers and Eggs, UK.
No, I'm saying a banger album. It sounds bloody good, right, David? That's a banger album, right there.
That's a banger.
There it is. Who's next?
Me,
George.
This is my last one, and it's my favorite one.
I knew you're gonna blow your wad here. Okay, go for it.
Well, I did have one other one, but Mazzy ruined it. So
ruined it.
Yeah.
It
was in 1977.
R2D2.
In 1977, being 9 years old at the time, and seeing this movie, being taken out of school and going to the Grand Lake Theater right down the hill here, and as a school field trip, and seeing this is the first time as a 9-year-old kid that I had to have the soundtrack, and the fact that it was like classical music was very different for me and a lot of people my age. This put a lot of kids of my age face to face with modern classical music, and it gave at least myself and some of my friends kind of a want to look at other forms of classical music that we kind of thought was boring when you were trying to learn that stuff in school, or they were talking about Bach and Beethoven and things like that. And around the same time, you did have the switched on Bach stuff, the Wendy Carlos stuff that Mazzy was talking about. So and the Rocky soundtrack, Bill Conti with the brass in it and everything. And so all these things started to become huge. This one in particular, though, this is sort of an expanded edition that was kind of came out and redone recently.
How many records are in there?
To be honest with you, I think 3 or 4.
Okay. At least it's not like a UHQR1 record in there. Okay.
No. And one side 4 has got this kind of cool hologram that has like the Death Star spinning. So when you put it on and you look down into the record, the Death Star is spinning on your turntable. It's pretty cool. And it's got a book about, all kinds of stuff. It's very informative. It's got a lot of, this is not a UHQR thing. So anyways, Star Wars soundtrack, John Williams, genius, the way that he can sort of find, and that's another thing too, is that in terms of sort of modern classical, there's a lot of people that know these tunes. You can hum these tunes. When you hear dun 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 dun, dun, that something bad's about to happen, and some bad guy's coming around the corner. And it just again to how influential it was for the time was a big deal. So if you haven't heard this, it's great. I have the old one, the OG2, just a double. So anyway, there you go.
Someone mentioned in the comments that I should have picked, but I almost grabbed every single Ry Cooder soundtrack. He's done a million of them.
And I
But
thought you were going to. I'm actually
I didn't.
shocked.
I love his soundtracks, and he's done so many. I mean, the one he did with the all the brothers playing the cowboys, you know, all the different, you know, like the James brothers, 2 actors plays the James brothers, and all that. What a great movie, great soundtrack. But now I have 2 more. Should I shoot my wad now? We're going to come around one more time, or
what do we got?
Got a couple more.
We got to just take your
okay.
time.
Okay, George said it was loud. Okay, I'll do.
I got one more. I got one more.
Okay, I'm going to do one because this is Black Orpheus, and this is the soundtrack to the Palme d'Or winner out of Brazil, Black Orpheus, which is a great musical of Brazilian music. I mean, it's got music by Carlos Jobim, Luis Bonfa. It's just a great, and it's got a little bits of like ambient soundtrack from the soundtrack of the movie Voices in between, buffering between the music. So it's a very like field recordings at time. Fantastic movie, one of the great classic movies of Brazilian music. I love this music. Won the Palme d'Or in 1950. Long Riders. Thank you. That's the one to think of. Okay, that's it on that one.
Okay. So I've got a 3 soundtracks very influential to me because I love the movies. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Love
That's a
it.
hard one to find.
Steve Earle too, right? 6
Yep.
Days on
Yeah.
the Road there.
Yeah.
Emmylou
Let's
Harris,
see.
too.
Believe I really enjoy some of the songs that were on that.
I think you're a big Robin Williams fan, David.
And Arthur. Another fun movie from the 80s as well.
Christopher Cross had a huge hit on there.
Absolutely.
Which
Yeah.
song was it?
The theme from Arthur.
Yeah, When You
Oh,
Get
right.
Caught Between the Moon and New York
Yep.
City.
All right. And I'm assuming Burt Rock obviously wrote
Yep.
that song.
She did. There's also Nicolette Larson's Ambrosia, Stephen Bishop on that record as well.
All right. I saw it. I saw the comments. George, you're going to know what it is. But guys, if you don't have this record, this is $5. The record store has 6 copies of this record down the road from my house. The movie FM. This is the soundtrack FM, 1978. You can watch it on YouTube for free right now. FM, just look it up on YouTube.
A great one.
Great, incredible album. I mean, I'll list them here. You can see them. Look at that. Boston, More Than a Feeling. Jimmy Buffett. You got Doobie Brothers. Eagles, Life in a Fast Lane. You know, you've got Foreigner, Billy Joel, Steve Miller, Fly Like an Eagle. Tom Petty's actually in the movie. Tom Petty makes an appearance in
and
this
Linda
movie.
Ronstadt's in the movie.
Right, Queen. Well, that was the whole theme. They were giving away tickets to a Linda Ronstadt concert.
Is that when Tom Petty delivers the line, "Everybody gets paid and everybody gets laid"? Is that statement? From that? I think it's from that time.
Maybe Buffett.
So here's the gatefold here. Look at that. I mean this is my original, and still in the MCA paper sleeve, and
one of the greatest label designs of all time, the tan MCA label.
With an orange ring around it.
I'll show you.
A radio preview of that movie with all these radio people, FM San Francisco radio people, and they did not like it at all. It didn't portray their,
Oh well.
It's a fun movie, Martin Mull's first movie, and I think it really was Cincinnati WKRP after that movie or before?
Yes.
Maybe it didn't. Okay, so that movie probably inspired that series, I would assume, right? That's probably part of it.
Makes sense.
And FM, it's a corny movie. You look at the late 70s. I mean, some of the decor and the production design is pretty tacky, but I mean, it lives up to the day, I guess. But yeah, pretty cool. So Again, guys, anyone that doesn't have it, and I know, George, we've talked about this before on this show, this is a great record for the price. And Joe Walsh, I forgot about our buddy Joe.
Yeah.
He's got Life's Been Good, one of my favorite Joe Walsh songs as well on here. But, of course, Linda Ronstadt makes an appearance, and it's a great sounding record. And mine, I mean, you look at this, it's hard to see, but it's in really good shape, and it sounds great on my system as well. So there you go, Life FM. Wow.
That's a great one.
All right, I got one more.
Okay, George.
I was going to pull this originally, and then it was sitting right there. This is the Strawberry Statement.
Oh yeah.
This is I'd never even saw the movie, heard about it or anything. And I just happened to be in a record store digging around one day and found this in there. And I was looking at like Buffy St. Marie's on there, Thunderclap Newman, Get It Together, right? What a great song. And all these different variations of CSN, CSNY, Neil Young by himself. And it's just an awesome soundtrack. It's got it's also, got the Sprax Zarathustra on here as well. But it's just again, I think Down by the River might be on here. There's like it's interspersed with, sort of like sound track music and then song track music. And again, just to get Thunderclap Newman on here, because I've always loved that song, such a great sounding song. And that's really why I got it, but was surprised when I got to hear, all of the variations of CSN and Buffy St. Marie and all that kind of stuff. So if you find this, if you find this, pick it up. It sounds good. It sounds great.
Let me just add to FM. I mean, I forgot to say, FM, the title song is from Steely Dan. Steely Dan actually, I think, David, you might know this, wrote this song probably for this album. And you can get this on this record by Steely Dan, and I think on the Citizen Dan CD.
Steely Dan Gold is the LP it's on also.
There you go. So
not their greatest hits, not the double album, the single one called Gold.
So there's three different. So FM soundtracks, the Citizen Dan box, and the Gold is where you can listen.
to for years you couldn't get that. That's the only place you could get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
no static at all.
$5, guys. $5 Canadian right now.
I got a sealed one last month for $12.
Wow. I should be reading the room, but I'm not, because I know my final pick is this isn't the audience for it. So, but to me, this is the perfect crossover from Broadway, a Broadway musical made into a movie, into a soundtrack, and this copy is a 6i 50 cent. And this is West Side Story.
Oh, West Side Story. Okay.
This Leonard Bernstein and the lyricist. What's his name? God, help me, Sal.
Johnny Mann? Nope.
We'll say right here. God. Oh, Stephen Sondheim, of course. Stephen Sondheim wrote this. It's perfect music, perfect thing. Now, I know Spielberg made a new version, updated, more politically correct because of, Caucasian people playing the Latinos, and but this is a great movie. Great little trivia thing. Two of the actors in it, Richard Baymar, I guess, and one of the other were in this movie, would later both be in Twin Peaks together, which is kind of interesting. But this is a fantastic. I mean, this is better than the Broadway score. Great record. Natalie Wood, obviously,
and Rita Moreno's in both of them, the new one and this one.
Russ Tamblyn and Richard Baymar, two actors in Twin Peaks. So this is a great movie, great soundtrack. 50 cents, Village Music, Mill Valley.
Do you like the original better than the new one that was out a few years back?
The Spielberg, it's a good film. I like the original, and it's definitely a time capsule. But the Technicolor, the way it's shot in that old Technicolor, and the openings or the scene with When You're a Jet and the whole thing up outside on location in 1960, it's a friggin' great scene. It's basically Romeo and Juliet, if you know the story. That's what it is. So it's great. Yeah, we're really well recorded. This is those New York, CBS recording studios with the whole score and everything. If you ever got the good, I don't know if it's Criterion or the big expanded DVD or Blu-ray, what's great about it, like it has the whole intro music. Those are the days where you'd have 10 minutes of the overture before the movie starts, and then it would be an intermission. Really great. So
all right, my last one has a little story behind it. So this was a soundtrack that wasn't released on vinyl from the time the movie came out until recently. And so I wanted it so badly on vinyl that I commissioned a place that cuts direct to disc to take it off of CD and make an LP of it.
Oh God, we got a bootlegger here.
Yeah. So so this we use this cover from the CD actually had this. So we got this, we picked the track sequence and all, the buddy and I, and then we really didn't like the way it sounded. So we went back to them and we got it done at 45 RPM on 2 LPs.
Wow.
And the label, you'll notice, matches, exactly what the label
They couldn't
was.
give you poly sleeves when they did it at 45?
No, I guess not. But anyway, so, but then Mondo came out with it, right?
That's
And
amazing.
here's the lousy cover that they put on it.
Oh, wow. How does that sound?
Good.
You know?
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds better, of course. Yeah. And this is still available on mondo.com if you want to order it. They've got a splatter version and a black, but this movie to me captured like what a band would be like if they were the Beatles in America coming out, and they just, came out of nowhere, out of Erie, Pennsylvania. And if you've never seen the movie, it's just one of those fun movies. See the director's cut. It's longer. It's about 2.5 hours. Got a lot more content to it than the theatrical release, but really a great fun album. Tom Hanks integrally involved in the writing and putting this together. And
He directed the movie.
Yep, he directed it. He starred in it as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Chris Isaac is in it. Chris Isaac plays the recording engineer in the church.
He does. And there's Liv Ullmann, who is gorgeous.
Yes.
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler Sutler Ullmann. Liv Tyler
Sutler. She has some connection to Aerosmith, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Raised by Todd Rundgren.
Yes, that's true.
Her legal name is actually Liv Rundgren, not Liv Tyler.
Really?
Yeah, because he actually legally adopted her back when she was a baby.
Wow.
But
her mom's Baby Buell.
Use that name.
Her mom's BB Buell, right? So she was with Steven Tyler, but then, obviously, as everything, it went bad. And then she went with Rundgren, and Rundgren raised her from childhood as his own child. So I think she took his
She calls Rundgren dad, not Steven Tyler dad, is what I read.
Well, then, God, she didn't give her dad credit as an actor?
She got in some of his videos. Too,
oh no!
Her and Alicia Silverstone, right?
Crazy. Was it Crazy? That Crazy song, I think it was.
Crying, Crazy. All those one-named, super hits that they made.
It's kind of weird to have your daughter sort of as a sex symbol figure in your own video. I think that's a little bit
very
weird.
creepy.
I don't know, man. I'm not liking that. But okay, so thank you, David, for that. I'm still going 1980. See the theme here. I've got a theme. Dun 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 dun. Heard it through the grapevine, the big chill. Here's you're learning stuff every single day, by the way, here. And I'm going to tell you something here, Mazzy. This is for you. You got Jeff Goldblum, William Hurts in this, Kevin Kline, Meg Tilly, Tom Berenger. But guess who's in it but not credited? You'll never know.
The dead person.
The dead guy's Kevin Costner is the dead guy in the big chill. Anyways, Kevin Costner. But heard it through the grapevine, My Girl, Good Lovin', The Tracks of My Tears, and then, of course, Joy to the World, another Hoyt Axton song. I'm keeping to the theme of that by Three Dog Night. Great song as well.
There's also a more music, too. There's like a second version of that with more stuff.
And this is on the Motown label here, too. This is my Canadian version of 83. And here's
that album was huge, too.
Huge album.
That really gave Motown another one of many... revisited
rebirths. Yeah, they rebirthed
Motown and Wider Shade of Pale.
Somebody mentioned this. Somebody mentioned this in the chat, so I just got this honorable mention right here. I'll go real quick. And this will make Mazzy throw up a little bit in his mouth. Here you go. Star is Born, Chris Christopherson, Barbra Streisand.
Oh my!
That's Mazzy's favorite movie. I think he told us.
A lot of songs written by Paul Williams.
That in our store when that came out, boy.
Lot of songs written by Paul Williams on here too. Evergreen, big huge hit written by Paul Williams, right? And
it's not as bad as when
you mean Smokey and the Bandit, Paul Williams. Anyway,
yes, it's the same Paul Williams.
That's from the same time that Neil Diamond did a remake of The Jazz Singer. That was worse.
The music wasn't bad.
I never heard it.
We just talked about this the other night, right? This came up.
Yes. The Jazz Singer with
Neil Diamond and his little yarmulke on the
Neil Diamond and Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
Someone had a good idea.
1985 Joel Schumacher film, what I would call the introduction to the Brat Pack of the Middies record here, or this soundtrack, Saint Elmo's Fire. You guys
yeah.
remember the song "Man in Motion"? It was the theme. St. Elmo's Fire. John, is it John Paré or John Parr?
I think it's
maybe
Paré or Paré or something like that.
Yeah. So written by David Foster, another Canadian David.
Foster
so
man.
Yeah, and then we had the song "Shakedown" by Billy Squire, "Young and the Innocent," "Save My Life" by Fee Waybill, and then "Stressed Out, Close to the Edge" by Airplay, written by David Foster as well. But again, epitomizes the mid '80s. You see my theme here. I'm just going back to all the big albums in its day, and that's the Brat Pack. I think
Rob
it was
Lowe and Demi Moore.
Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Angie McCarthy, who was in Pretty in Pink, Amelia Estevez, Judd Nilsson, who was in Breakfast Club, Ali Sheedy, who was in Breakfast Club, and Andy McDowell was in this as well. So yeah, some big names. This is a big album and a big movie in its day.
David Foster and Steve Lukather, or Lukather, however you want to say it, basically were the Tubes by that point in time. So when you see Fee Waybill or any of those 80s Tubes records where they were very corporate wearing the suits and stuff, it was pretty much David Foster and Steve Lukather, the guys in Toto, basically just going in and hit machining out all those songs and then putting on the people they needed to put on to make it sound like those records. But David Foster was a machine at that point in time.
And so
was Toto, right? I mean, the band Toto basically plays on everything from Steely Dan to Brat Pack movies,
Boss-Gag Silk Degrees.
Yeah, just
it's got like most of Toto.
Oh yeah, totally. Michael Jackson, Thriller, right? There's a story, if anybody hasn't seen it, Beat It. Steve Lukather is the guy playing all the guitars and the bass on that record, and Eddie just did the solo, and he tells a story about how they sent the tape over to Eddie at his studio and he cut the solo, but something got weird with the time code and the SMPTE, so by the time they got back, all they had was Michael Jackson and the solo. And so the drummer for Toto, who great drummer, Jeff Porcaro, he had to listen in the headphones to Michael Jackson's vocal track that you could just hear the music bleeding through out of his headphones. And he made a click by tapping his sticks and then cut the drums. And then they rebuilt the track around just the vocal and the guitar solo. And that is the version of Beat It that you hear to this day. Amazing musicians, amazing group of people. That Toto.
It sounds exactly like the kind of production Steve Albini would never do in his entire life.
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
Okay, I've got two from 1984. Anyone guess? See how I'm being consistent on what I'm doing.
What about 1984?
What about it? How about that? 1984.
What a guess.
Interesting movie because I think it was
Virgin soundtrack.
Well, Virgin was the one that actually commissioned the Eurythmics to write the songs for this, but the director of this movie hated the Eurythmics.
Is that Alan Parker?
It might
Who
be.
directed it?
You got me on that one. It should say. Give me a second here. Well, again, this record itself was produced by Dave Stewart, of course, but the director for 1984, maybe someone can tell me. Anyways, the director hated. Michael Radford is the director's name. He hated the Eurythmics version. So if there's a director's cut DVD, and he took out the Eurythmics stuff and put in his own music. Not that he produced it, but from another band. But the big song on this was "Sex Crime," right? "Sex Crime" was a big hit for the Eurythmics back in '84. So this is actually a really good record. And of course,
during the '70s and early '80s and mid '80s, there was a thing in Hollywood where, a lot of these movies that weren't necessarily big budget, they banked on the soundtrack being the big hit of it. Like, let's sell records, like, more than the movie making box office.
Yeah. Look at his hair. Look at his hair. That's awesome. Dave Stewart's great. But Dave Stewart had great sounding records, right? I mean, he's produced a lot of great stuff as well.
Oh, yeah.
But
which is exactly why you see Prince and Batman soundtracks, right? Like I
didn't bring that. I have the Bat soundtrack, but look at
that. I thought that was the soundtrack's great. But I thought that was a misguided thing to shoehorn him into that movie.
But it goes along with what you were saying, where they were more interested in selling soundtrack records, in case the movie bombed.
Yeah. Remember that was the period where both Prince and Madonna did records, music inspired by, like she did a music inspired by Dick Tracy. This music really wasn't in there. Basically, she was on a set. Let's make a movie. Let's attach it to Dick Tracy and sell records. So.
Big Brother is Watching and Richard Burton's last movie, 1984. There you go. So we'll keep up the theme to 1984. Phil Collins, he was around in 1984. So was Jeff Bridges. So was James Wood. This movie was Against All Odds. Take a look at me now. What a
I
great
I
soundtrack.
almost rented that movie the other day.
That's where
I like that-
Brian from Cocktail fell in love with Rachel, the two Aussies, and they got married.
Brian's in this. Brian's in this movie too,
Yeah.
from Cocktail. Oh.
Yeah, they're both
Well,
Aussies.
Brian in Cocktail, the woman
James
that
Woods.
Brian marries in Cocktail was also in that Roadhouse movie starring Patrick Swayze. I can't remember the actress's name,
Yeah,
but yeah.
James Woods
there
is
he
in that
is.
movie. A lot of
Yep.
it's filmed in Manhattan Beach. I actually saw them filming that movie. I think it was down on like 8th Street, Walk Street on Manhattan Beach, right on the Strand. There's a, James Woods' house is like right there on Manhattan. And then all of a sudden they get in the cars and they're on Sunset, having that race.
I love that race. The Ferrari, is it a Ferrari and a Porsche or something? It's
something
two
like that.
Pretty
Yeah,
sweet
it's a portion
cars,
of yeah.
But anyways, a great soundtrack there. And keeping up with the theme, this is 1986, directed by Martin Scorsese, Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, 1986, Color of Money. Robbie Robertson had a lot to do with this record. He produced it, of course. You've got songs.
He was the music advisor for most
right.
of Scorsese's later films.
Yeah, almost
Don
everything after the certain point.
Don Henley's in this.
Yeah.
Paul Newman won an Oscar for Best Actor for this movie. This is
About
one
time.
you should rent this one along with Against All Odds. Really make it, and then get Cocktail. You can do like a triple header. Really get into the 80s.
And then you could do this one
weekend.
You can. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
John
Okay,
Oates.
1970, Matty. 1970. Recorded Fillmore, East New York, March 27th to the 28th of 1970. Mad Dog and the Englishman. Look at this.
I don't consider that a sound. I don't consider that a soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, it says music from the original soundtrack,
Well,
but look at this. Look at this. Look at this record. Look at
They
for
went to
$5
do a
back
live
in the day.
movie at the same time. The movie meant to supplement. Yeah.
It's a concert film, really. It's like The Last Waltz. It's like, if you have the soundtrack to The Last Waltz, it's
and that was unfortunate. That everyone was drugged up. That's the stupid tour where Jim Gordon punched out Rita Coolidge instead of asking her to marry him. It was like excess, but great.
Well, I like this record. I mean, you got Honky Tonk Woman's in it.
It's a great live record.
It's Leon Russell's the musical director.
Leon Russell brought everyone and their old ladies and old men on the road and their dogs, and it was like
did the same thing for Concert for Bangladesh too. Leon Russell was the mastermind in a lot of those big get-togethers.
And
there's one song. Christopher is right. Concert films are a cheat. You just cheated. That would be like saying Concert for Bangladesh. It's a cheat. Just because you're from Canada doesn't mean you can cheat.
Hang on. This is my show. I'm allowed to cheat if I want. Okay, fine. Is this a cheat then?
Steve just told me yesterday that Canadian people are polite, and then but then they sneak in and they cheat. They use their politeness to infiltrate.
You guys are calling that a cheat. So so then now is this considered a cheat? The Woodstock 3 LP, that's a cheat as well, right?
That's not the soundtrack. I mean,
this record sounds like crap. Mine sounds like crap. It's not a very good sounding record. I will tell you that. I won't listen to it. It doesn't sound good at all.
Look what I just got. Jeez. I'm not going to do an opening here, but something just arrived.
Well, I think we should.
Rhino.
I think, why not? And then, okay, guys, look at this. This isn't a cheat because I think this is an incredible movie. 1994, Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. 2 LP.
A lot of great tunes on that.
Great tunes.
That's a great sound.
Okay, so you got Hound Dog, right? Of course, Wilson Pickett's on there. Land of a Thousand Dances. You've got Aretha Franklin. What else is on there? Buffalo Springfield, California Dreamin', the Beach Boys,
Be Safe,
Bob Dylan, Mrs. Robinson, Jefferson Airplane. List goes on. Great.
Mrs. Robinson's a band? Or are you just saying the name of the song? Okay, I thought you were
Against the Wind. Bob Seger. No, Bob Seger. All the good ones. Yeah,
that's a good one.
So we're doing. Hang on, I've never heard of this before. We're doing an unboxing of something. Hang on, this is.
I don't do unboxing.
This is a bonus. You've never seen an unboxing before. I'm gonna color commentate this one.
I'm not doing an unboxing. It's already unboxed.
What are you doing, right? So let's see what you have. What do you have? What is it? Oh,
look at that.
What are those, Mazzy?
And it's funny. There was not a piece of. This is because the PR people send it. Unfortunately, you got to be careful. There was no cardboard on top, and usually Maslov will slice like right into the cover. I didn't do that because I got a feeling this is not Rhino's packaging. It's a Publicist, but it's perfect. No dents, no nothing.
Yeah.
So
those are not non-numbered versions, I would assume. Well, you got to open it up to tell the number, I guess. But.
Oh, right. Well, let's do that. Let's find out.
Oh, hang on. This is his first ever unboxing right now.
I'm not unboxing. I'm on
slicing. And he's using a knife. That scares me.
Why? Why would it scare you?
I use the end of a credit card. Just slice it. Easy.
Well, some people have extra credit cards that toss around.
Use my finger.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. This is a promo because
zeros.
Look at that. You got 0.
That's all the promos are 0. So it's not just.
I know.
Yeah. So, God, it looks like George when he was 16.
That's me. That's me standing in a field.
So,
wow.
Looking for my car.
Yep. Did you ask of them? The Hoffman forms are all wonky. Okay. I'll admit that. And I'm one that my point is limited editions are never really limited. Okay. Right. Because they can always do another quote edition. Remember the Rolling Stones monobox, black edition, colored edition. Now this says limited number edition 5,000. That means in theory, if they wanted to, they could do another 1,000 or 5,000 unnumbered editions, another edition, and that would be totally legitimate. So
yeah, totally.
My point is, don't buy records. This is my opinion as investments. Buying because you want the record and you want the music. Okay?
But if they did to do that, the numbered versions obviously would have a little bit more value than a 0.
But it also, in all fairness, though, the Stones colored box had different stampers than the black. So it was a completely different pressing.
Oh, did it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were different stampers.
No. Didn't they just switch the DSD machine back on to recut them, George, for those?
Well, yeah, but the point is that the black box is limited in that sense that it's not the same stampers; it's a different pressing.
As he pushes up the gloss, talk about that though. The gloss is pretty awesome. Stay on topic. I'm staying on topic.
Well,
we're end of our soundtrack.
I'm not here to be a
here.
shill for any label, but which is also stupid because the whole idea of promo records has been a thing for 60, 70 years, right? I've worked in a record store as a manager. I'd get promo copies. That's what record companies do. The covers are great. I mean, now I don't have a copy here handy of an early pressing. This has always been a fuzzy cover. But these jackets are pretty amazing. Now, I know some people I've read, and I haven't had this issue, is that they're slightly bigger to fit normal outside sleeves.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're a little tight, but I think I've fit them in. But this is a beautiful cover, the Devo. I love this record.
Yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah,
great Devo record.
It's a good sounding record. Is this their third album or fourth? I forgot.
Third.
I think it's 1980s.
I think it's the third.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great record. Yeah. So there you go.
Enjoy it.
I've got the OG of that record. It sounds awesome. So I can't imagine that that's not going to sound completely awesome.
Yeah. Now I don't have a UK Vertigo, so I can't compare it to that. That's the one where I hear people really into Black Sabbath.
I have the UK Vertigo first press,
and
it's very bassy. Lots and lots and lots of bass on that one. Just has a lot of low end on it, whereas the Warner Canadian American has a little bit less. There's a little bit difference. But Tom Port from Better Records, and I've had him on the show a few times, he thinks the Warner one, or from
the Greenie,
thinks the Greenie sounds better than the Vertigo.
It's so subjective, right? And now, what do you think about? Have you compared the new one to these?
I mean, yeah, I have, and I feel. I mean, I don't want to come off as being really biased, right? I think everyone needs to listen on their own.
Right.
I mean, again, think about this. Kevin Gray cut it. Kevin Gray knows his rock albums. He knows Black Sabbath. He's cut Sabbath before. He has some of the best equipment in the business right now. Pressed at optimal. he's got, you know, with the way Rhino works is a bunch of test pressings that go out before they actually have the final lacquer. Lots of people from, you know, Rhino listen to this test pressing to make sure it's what they want to hear before it goes to final press. So there's a lot of people involved in the process, and if they didn't like it, they would have said, you know, Kevin,
Do you
we're gonna
happen to know? Maybe you don't know the answer to this. Do any of the artists get to hear those or not? They don't care.
I don't give a shit.
Why would they care? They got their money.
They don't care.
Well, I'm just curious. You know, some
they're probably not even aware. They're probably not even aware that it's happening.
I don't think Ozzy Osbourne knows that the latest self-titled Black Sabbath Rhino Hi-Fi came out. He probably gets his check in the mail or whatever and says, "Oh, look," you know. He probably tells us, you know, like, "Hey,
Ozzy can't even remember what he had for breakfast."
God, you're so cruel.
Well,
not a check in the mail.
He doesn't see the checks.
What's 5,000 at $40? I mean, we know that probably half goes for licensing, and management gets it. Whoever gets it.
Well, the licensing, they own the licensing.
No, I know, but how much
There's
does
you're
the artist
talking about
get?
royalties.
Like, do they get 50% of what's sold? I don't know how the deal.
Unlike what Chad has to pay as a third-party licensing. Now, the only thing is, on the Atlantic, he doesn't have to pay that because Atlantic it's a co-op thing. So my guess is he doesn't have to pay licensing on the Atlantic 75, unless I'm mistaken, David. You might know. The UHQR, obviously he has to pay licensing, but not on the Atlantic 75s because that's a project with Atlantic, is my guess.
They're getting something.
Maybe, Sharon got the check for this Rhino.
Yeah,
Sharon gets everything. Sharon, I think Sharon owns the name Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh really?
So she ain't sharing nothing.
I mean, remember when the Black Sabbath era lineup with Ronnie James Dio reformed, they had to call themselves something else. They couldn't even call themselves Black Sabbath. And Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler were in the band, and they couldn't call themselves Black Sabbath. So the name Black Sabbath is tightly
That sounds
controlled.
like the bullshit that Matthew Katz did when he owned the names It's a Beautiful Day and Moby Grape. For years, they couldn't put, I mean, even when Sundays tried to reissue those first 3 Moby Grape albums, they came out for a minute and they were out in stores, and I have a set of them. And Bill Irwin, who was Bob Irwin, who was the head of Sundays Records, they had to recall and stop pressing Moby Grape's album because he sued. And that mother, excuse the expression, rest in peace, died last year. But he owned those names for years and really caused harm for those groups. Moby Grape later did a record in the 80s or something, and had to call it something else like Live Grape, or I forgot what they called it, which is really too bad when a manager or a label owns something beyond the members of the band. I think that's atrocious. Change the subject.
Horzu.
1973 Horzu. This is in V++. This is if you guys, what a contrast between the Rhino album jackets and this. This is like a piece of paper. It feels like.
Oh yeah.
This cardboard. It's the thinnest thing. Like it even flattens out. The spine flattens out. It's the thinnest thing I've ever out of all my collection.
Beautiful. The printing is beautiful.
Yeah, but there's a weight.
Back.
There is a weight to it because of the cardstock and the lamination on those old, especially again, the Parlophone ones. They're very.
I'm holding up the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour of Horzu. This is my 1973 in the cut. This is the one that has the real stereo versions of. I think it's. I can't remember. I think it's Goodbye and
Baby You're a Rich
Strawberry
Man.
Fields, Baby Rich Man and Penny Lane. Thank you.
The true stereo. The thing is,
A2B3.
In the 60s and the 70s, the UK copies, they weren't sealed. They all came like that. That's why when we got imports in this country, they hold those loose bags on it because Americans understand open records.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Well, let's leave it at that. That was fun. I think I'm surprised you didn't bring any Beatles today. I thought you'd bring some Beatles, Mazzy. I really did, but that's okay.
Well,
you know what I'll do? I'll do it.
Well, the only soundtrack. The only soundtrack. That's not a soundtrack. Not a soundtrack.
No. Okay.
The Americans are soundtrack. That's not a soundtrack.
No.
Yeah.
The American Help and Hard Day's Night are actual soundtracks.
And I noticed here, you guys, no one's putting their thumbs up for our show. Apparently, everyone's in the comments putting their thumbs up. But yeah,
you're not in the mood.
Thumbs it up. And an ugly cover, Steve. Sorry. Well, I didn't make the cover. It's a Horzu German thing.
I like that cover.
I think you know what, when you first see it, it looks really cheesy and cheap, but by the time you listen to the record, you love
You
the cover.
forget about
because what's inside it, you go, oh,
Yeah.
okay, all is forgiven.
This cost me $30, and these are $150 records for this
Yeah.
condition. Like, this is a really solid condition. Like,
You are
it's
not going to
probably been
find a
played
better
3 times.
sounding version of
No,
Magical
that's it.
Mystery Tour on the planet, period, hands down.
Like,
You know,
the difference between the 2009 vinyl remasters that the Beatles put out of Magical Mystery is crap compared to what you hear on
Oh
this.
yeah,
This is
all of them.
no comparison. Any Magical Mystery Tour record you have, throw it out, because this is the one.
If it says Capital, you're in trouble.
Throw it out.
burn it, take it down to the corner and deposit your
Didn't
Beatle gear
they
here,
burn it?
and we're
Didn't
going
they
to
burn it back in '65? Burn
That's
it because
right.
we're bigger than Jesus
66.
Christ.
I want a
please.
piece of the
66.
Beatles at least.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was fun, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
A lot of fun. Thank you. And again, we don't normally do a sort of a mid-afternoon roundtable. I don't think I mentioned at the top. This is big for Canadians. We have our first. This is our big long weekend right now, the May long weekend, celebrating Queen Victoria's reign in the UK of 63 years, and that's what we celebrate here. Blues Brothers.
This is also
There it
the
is.
best version of Xanadu that you're going to find, hands down, bar none. Just do yourself a favor and throw away all your other copies of Xanadu and pick up this
Which one is it, George?
It's whatever one you find at the store. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Jesus.
So, Mazzy, can I expect a Black Sabbath video now in the next 10 minutes?
Oh, I need to listen to him. Not today. Not today.
Oh, did somebody
Well,
die?
38.
I'm going to
38.
close out for me a 30-second review of 3 recent albums. Great record, one of the great pop Beach Boy-like album, the new Lemon Twigs, a friggin' amazing, one of the best albums of the year so far. Adrienne Lenker, she's in I'm blanking out the band, but solo kind of folksy stuff. Just an amazing record. The new Pearl Jam, mediocre record, terrible sounding record, horrible sounding record. That guy Alan Watt needs to be taken out and learn how to make records sound good that are not pop records. He did the Stones record last time, and this compressed over hell. Friggin' terrible. I think I'm going to give this away to somebody.
It's the new way. We can do it. You're just behind the times, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm so behind the times.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. If anyone is interested on like Thursday, I'm having this guy on right now, Mr. Steve Hoffman, for some some personal vinyl picks. He's going to be doing some.
That should be fun.
Them.
Yeah.
So I don't know which ones are going to be, but yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to have.
What time is that?
That's going to be 8 p.m. this Thursday.
8 p.m. Pacific.
Live Pacific time Thursday. That will be live, and he says, "I don't want to know the questions. Just I work better if I go with it." So I'm like, okay, so I won't tell you the questions. That's fine. So that will be fun to have him back on Vinyl Picks and live Q&A. And I will tell you, he's excited. He really is, and I'm curious to know what picks he has, if any. Hopefully, he's done his homework. I'm worried he's like George.
Great.
I brought Xanadu to the table.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what? I was looking at the comment. There's a lot of people excited about Xanadu. I bet you.
I like that record. I like that album.
Look at this. See, look at this. Look at that.
A fun record.
I actually don't have it. So I'm.
Did you mention Gene Kelly is in it?
Nah.
Oh no. God, Gene Kelly is roller skating. You know what a great dancer he is.
And Frankie Avalon in Greece singing "Beauty School Dropout." That's another all-time classic.
There you go.
There's so much good stuff on these soundtracks. Dig.
You're the one that I love.
There you go. All right, Thursday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard. Mr. Steve Hoffman is going to be on the Audiophile Roundtable. Mazzy, enjoy Black Sabbath. I heard it's a pretty good banger album.
Okay.
Gents,
thank you.
Later.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.